I'm going to click open. So products and sales, isn't it? And I'm going to click transform data. So you see, I did not wait for it to even show me a preview. Once I tick the box, I'm good to go. I don't have to wait for a preview to see something first or anything, no. All right. Okay, so it has opened. This preview may be up to 33 days old. All right, so the correction to the assignments. All right. So first and foremost, I quickly notice all nulls below here. So this is like a blank row. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove blank rows. And how do we remove blank rows? I'll come up here where I have remove rows, and then I'm going to click remove blank rows automatically. And that step gets applied. You can see it on the applied steps pane. Okay. So then I'm giving people till tomorrow to submit. If correction is done, that means we will just copy and send to you. That's another thing. That's another thing. That's another thing, actually. So it means I will lock the submission tonight then. All right, let's proceed. So the date column. Thank you very much, Mr. Oluremi. So from that, I guess I'll have to log the submissions tonight. So sorry about that. To those that had in mind that they will still have time to submit them. Thank you for that information, Mr. Oluremi. So for the date, I'm going to change this from number to date data type. Okay. To date data type. Now the time. How do I change the time? Same thing. From here to time data type. Isn't it? Then for the email. So we're splitting the email into first name and last name, or I can just split into say full name. Okay. So how did you go about yours? How did you go about yours? Can you let me know? How did you go about yours? Column by example. This is the reason why I will do this correction today. Because I do not expect anybody to tell me we should continue with that and do the correction on Wednesday. It means you've not done the assignment at all. I expect that everyone should have done the assignment. The only issue you are probably having currently is that you are unable to submit. So if you have done the assignment, it just remains for you to submit. Then you should not be looking for an extra time telling me let's move the correction to another date again. So it just tells me that even with all the added time, they are telling me you submit by Saturday, you still did not meet up. So the correction is going to be done right now, and the link for the submission is going to be closed by 12 a.m. this morning, today. So if you have not submitted by then there's nothing I can do for you. Because in as much as the internet is not very strong, at least I've been using the internet today and I've not had any issues. You are currently using the internet to join Zoom, isn't it? So if you're using the internet to join Zoom, you can use that same internet to upload whatever you need to upload right now. So if you're on this call and you're asking for extra time, then it means you've not done the assignment, which is wrong. All right, so some people used column by example. Some people splitted the email into first and last name. Okay. So let's go ahead and use column by example. All right, and I'm just going to extract it into full name. Okay, I'll just extract it into full name. All right, so I'm going to come to add column at the top, and I'll say custom column from examples rather. So column from examples. Good. And what's the first example I want to give? Wow, I even noticed some columns are blank. I will have to remove those columns. So what's the example I want to give? So from the email, the first name is Caroline and the last name is Jumper. I'm just going to type it inside this cell. Separating it by space. Do you see that? Caroline Jumper. I press enter. It does not suggest anything. So I can give another example. The next name here is what? Irene Maddox. So I'll type that as well. I'll press enter. And this time around, it gets it. It understands the example. And it goes ahead and suggests to me that is this what you want? You see that? So I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. Alright. So this column should be called what? Full name. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all these columns that are null. Completely empty. Remove columns. And I'll drag the full name to the start of the data or just before the email. So I have full name and I have their email as well. So for the gender, what do I have in the gender? F, FE, female, M, male, man. All right, so which two gender am I going to make use of? Which two should we make use of? We should use F and M, so just the letters. All right. So how do we replace values? On this column, I click on it, then I come to replace values up here. Replace values, and let's start with replacing man. So values to find man, replace with the letter M, and I'll say OK. All right. So I'll replace values again. Values to find male, replace with letter M. But remember, I have to make use of match entire cell contents this time around, and I'll click OK. Then I'll click on replace values again. This time around, let's replace female with letter F, and I'll use match entire cell contents. OK. And I'll replace values again. and I would say FE replace with letter F, and I'll say what? Match entire cell content. I'll say okay. Alright, so now if I check my filter option, I have just F and M. Do you see that? Alright, so I'm done with the gender column. Now I can move on to the address column. So for the address column, I want to split it into city, states, and country. Okay, so we've seen how to split column using add column from examples. All right, so this time around, let's go ahead and split column using the normal split column option. So I'm going to come up here to where I have split column. I'll click on split column, and I want to split by delimiter. So the first delimiter I want to split by is, okay, so it's picked up this, what's it called? Forward slash. Okay, so I'm going to put a second forward slash there. Okay, because there are two forward slashes. All right, so I'm going to say okay. So when I do that, it brings out the country. Do you see that? It brings out the country immediately. Okay, so for the address, I still have the state or the city and the state, isn't it? So I'm going to go ahead and split this time around using what? Using delimiter, and my delimiter now will be comma. Do you see that? And then I'm going to click on OK. All right, so moving on, I'm going to change the title of this to city. I'll change the title of this to states. And I'll change the title of this to country. Right, so I'm done with that. So moving on to the segments, let me check this. Load more. So I have consume, consumer, corporate, home office. So this consume is meant to change to consumer, isn't it? So I'm going to use replace values. Value to find consumer, or consume rather. Value to replace with consumer. So advanced options and match entire cell content. I say okay. So let's check it again. Good. Do you see that it's gone? So the consumer has been changed to consumer. So I'll click OK and I'll move on, isn't it? So for the identification column, I already said that there really isn't any cleaning to do on it. When I'm working with identification columns, I already mentioned that before, isn't it? So let's go ahead and look at the. So immediately I see that there is a particular number formatted to the right and to the left, or aligned to the left, and it's usually text that gets aligned to the left, like that. Okay, it's usually text that gets aligned to the left like that. So something is telling me that, okay, there's something wrong with that particular number. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do some checking by clicking my filter option here. Okay, so I quickly see that I have 1S5090. Do you see that? So I want to change the 1S to 15, the 50 to 50, and the 90 to 90. All right. Currently, I have 71 people on the call. The excuse would be that the network was very poor. Okay. But I want those of you in class to take note of what is going to happen. Okay? Just take note of what is going to happen. Once it's towards the end of the class and it's time for us to mark attendance, you can see how the attendance will reach 90 something. But still, the excuse is that the network really wasn't good. All right, so just pay attention and watch. Okay, so now I want to replace 1S with 15, 5O with 50, 9O with 90. So I'm going to go ahead and first and foremost change this to text data type. I'll change it to just text. Okay, so click here, convert it to text. All right. After converting it to text, I'm going to go ahead and replace values now. I'll go ahead and replace values. Replace values. So value to find is what? So I'm going to look for 9 and the letter O and replace it with 90. I'll say okay. So I'll replace values again. This time around 5 and the letter O. I'll replace it with 50. Once more, 1 and the letter S. I'll replace it with what? 15. And then finally, 1 and is it this one letter S? Was there anyone like that? I'm not sure, but let's just replace with 15. So, and we are done. Okay, so even if there was nothing like that, it won't replace anything. Okay, it won't replace anything. So, and we are done. So I'm going to convert my quantity now. I'll convert it back to number. Okay, whole number. So no errors. So I'll check the data type now. Entity, whole number, product ID is showing whole number. I usually prefer my identification columns to be text. So I'm just going to change this to text. Okay. So after that, the segment is text as well. The country is text as well. Okay. The state as well is text. The city is text. The gender is text. Email is text. Full name is text. Time is time data type. And then the date is date data type. And what else? Order ID is text. So beautiful. So now, if I move on to my product table, I notice quickly that I have the details of the products table. Okay, so my identification column first, I'm going to change this text. Okay, good. So I want to bring in these details to the main table. Okay, so I'm going to create a new table. All right, that would merge the sales table and the product table together. Okay, so how can I do that? I'm going to start from the sales table, merge queries at the top here, and I'll say merge queries as new. All right, and I'm going to click here. I'm going to select products because I already have sales here. So I want to merge to what? Product. So what's the common column? The identification column, product ID to product ID. So I select it on both tables. So it tells me it matches 1023, 1023 from first table. And I'll click OK. Okay. So the difference between merge and merged as new is that merge would merge into the same table. Okay. Then merge as new would merge into a new table. All right. So the purpose of changing to text. So for the identification columns, I usually like my identification columns to be formatted as text. I like it that way. Okay, not that there's a purpose or anything. I like it that way. Formatted as text. All right, very good. Yeah. So it's personal to me. Okay. So so I'm going to rename this merge one. I'll rename it as final sales table. Is it optional? Yes, it is optional. All right. So final sales table, and then I'm going to come over to the right hand side where I have that column for products. So the product is still showing as a table here. So I'm going to need to expand it. All right. So I'm going to expand it, and then I'm going to deselect this, and I'll select just the columns I need: product name, category, unit price, and unit cost. So I'll deselect this. I don't need this as well, and I'll click OK. All right. So after that, my unit cost and unit price, I'm going to change the what's it called? The data type to fixed decimal number. And I'll do the same thing for unit price. I'll change the data type to fixed decimal number. Isn't it? Good. So I also said we should create a new column in your Power Query to calculate the sales. So sales would be quantity times unit price, isn't it? Quantity times unit price. So how do we do that? Add columns, then custom column, because I'm multiplying two columns now. So I'm going to click custom columns. All right. So I'm going to call this column sales. All right. And then the formula I'm going to use is what? I'm going to make use of quantity. So on the available columns here, I'll select quantity and insert, then times unit price, insert. All right. And I'll click OK. So you can see that creates a column for sales for me, isn't it? And I'm going to go ahead and change the data type as well to fixed decimal number. All right. So after that, what will I do? I'm going to go ahead and remove duplicates. So I'll click anywhere on my data set, then press Ctrl A. Okay. I need to make sure everything is highlighted like this. Do you see that? Then I'm going to come over to my Home tab. and then I'll come to where I have remove rows, and I'll click remove duplicates. Okay, and then I think I'm done with my cleaning. So if I load this data into my Power BI model back, or into my Power BI desktop, it's going to show these two tables as well. But this final sales table is the only table I need currently. But I can't delete these two tables. So what I'm going to do is to disable load for the two of them. So I'll right click the first one, and I will uncheck this enable load. I'll right click the second, I will uncheck this enable load. So only this one will get loaded into my Power BI desktop. All right. So from here, I'm going to click on close and apply. All right. So I'll click on close and apply. If you calculated profit, there's no problem. Okay. It's because I told you to just calculate sales and do the sum of sales. So I'm going to be calculating profit using DAX. If you have done it in your Power Query, there's no problem. But I'll show that using DAX here, because this is the data set we're going to be moving on. Is there a way to know the number of duplicate items just like in Excel? No. All right. So from here now, I said you should compute the sum of sales, isn't it? I'm going to insert a card visual, and then I'm going to drag the sales to my fields here. So if this is the same figure you had, can you signify? All right, very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. Very, very, very good. All right, beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, that's good. So now, back to our DAX class. Okay, our data analysis expression class. Back to that. So what we want to do from here onwards now is to introduce us to let me see. How many Power BI assignment have I given us? Just one. Isn't it? I think I've given us just one Power BI assignment. Am I right? Okay, so we're meant to receive one more Power BI assignment. I'm trying to decide whether to give us today or to give us in the next class. Okay, so I think I'll give us today. Today is the 5th class. We have just about 3 more classes to go, and we're still going to work on the capstone project. So I said capstone projects. We're still going to work on the tutor-led project for Power BI. I'm still going to work on the tutor-led project for Power BI. Someone said next class we need to master it. How do you master? Oh my God! Is it not from assignments? When you practice your assignment over and over again, is that not how you master it? All right, so okay, I think I'll give us. So this one that you've done and you got this value, beautiful. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to save this Power BI file, Control S. I'm going to call my own January project. I'll call my own January project, and I'll save it. January project. Okay. So I've saved it as January projects. I'm going to go ahead and close this Power BI. All right. So that January project has been saved in my documents. All right. So I'm going to open a new Power BI file now, and we want to continue our DAX. So in the last class, we were looking at DAX using one minor data set, like that. So today we're going to work with the sales data. So I sent us a particular data. I sent us 2 data sets in the last class. So the second one that is titled sales data is the one we're going to use now, okay, to continue our DAX. So I will use that to teach you some things, all right? So what I would expect of you is that for your assignments, those things that you teach you in today's class, you kind of replicate that as well in your assignment. And it's even good that today is Saturday. You have more days. Assuming it was Wednesday now, you have lesser time to do the assignment. So today is Saturday. You have Sunday, which is a free day. It's not even a day of the week. Okay, so Sunday, beautiful. Then you have Monday and you have Tuesday as well. That's like 3 days. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Okay, but assuming it was Wednesday I gave you the assignment, you only have Thursday and Friday. All right, but since I'm giving you on Saturday, you have Sunday, you have Monday, you have Tuesday, and that Sunday is not a weekday, so it's an added advantage. And you still have Wednesday again, so you have ample time to attempt the assignment for Wednesday. All right, so I'm going to explain the assignment at the end of our class. So let's proceed with our Power BI. All right. So from the last class on Power BI, what category of DAX function did I say was left for us to look at? Time intelligence, isn't it? Time intelligence function. I said that in the last class. Am I right? Yes, beautiful. Time intelligence function. Beautiful. Can you share the Excel document again? Someone should share it on the platform. Okay. So I'm going to get data. It's an Excel workbook. So I titled it sales data. Can't find it again. What's happening? Sales 2024, sales table, gun data. What was the name? Is it sales table I sent? Is it sales table or sales data? Okay, sales table. All right, thank you very much. So I'll click on sales table. and I'm going to click on open. So there's just one sheet. There's just one sheet on my sales table. So I'm going to select that sheet. And I'll click on transform data. Alright, so it brings me to where? To the Power Query Editor. So I want to change my product IDs first. Isn't it? I want to change my product IDs. The product ID, the customer ID, the campaign ID, I'll just change them to text data type. Okay, so I'll change them to text data type. This to text. For customer ID as well, to text. For campaign ID as well, to text. All right. So for the dates, I'm going to change the dates to just normal dates. Currently, it's showing date time. I don't need the time there. Everything is just showing 12 a.m. Okay, so it's not necessary. So I'll just convert it to just only dates. Okay. So moving on, customer ID is okay. Campaign ID is okay. Units is okay. Products. So the product name. Okay, so this is product name is okay. Let me see. So there are no null values there. The category is also okay. Accessory, mix, urban youth. The segment, accessory, all season, convenience, extreme, moderation, productivity, regular youth. So that's okay as well. Manufacturer ID, so I'm going to convert this to just text. This is an ID. Then the manufacturer name, all right. It's okay. So unit selling price, unit cost price. So I'm going to convert this to fixed decimal number. I'll do the same thing for unit selling price, fixed decimal number. Then the zip code. The zip code, it should be number, so I'll leave it as number. But you don't need the zip code for any analysis like that. So for the city, I notice I have not only the city, but also the state and the country inside city. Do you see that? I have both the city, the state, and the country as well. Do you see that? So what I want to do, what I will just simply do is I'm going to remove the state and the country. I already have the state here. All right. So I'm going to extract out what the state, and I will extract out the country. Okay. So I already have the state, so I don't need the state. I'm going to extract out the country. Okay, I even have the country here as well. Do you see that? I have country here as well. So I don't need the state and the country that is inside this city. I only need the first item. Okay. So I'm going to split this column. I'll say split column by delimiter. So I just need the first item alone. Okay. So by delimiter, comma. and I'll tell it to split at leftmost delimiter, meaning it's only the first comma that it will use to split. Once I click OK, you see I will now have my city in one column, and I'll have the state and the country. You can see that in the second column because I used by leftmost delimiter. I'll click this, I'll right click and remove because I don't need this. So I have just the city now. So just city is okay. Beautiful. Then for the email and name. So I noticed that I have the email and the customer name as well. Do you see that? So I'm going to remove what's it called? This hyphen, and then I'm going to extract the full name from it. So how do I do that? I'm first of all going to split by delimiter, and I'll use hyphen. So it's custom. I'll split by, I said hyphen, sorry, colon. I'll use colon. I'll say okay. So it splits the email from the email name. Do you see that? Okay. So I'm also going to remove the brackets. I don't think I need the brackets in this email, isn't it? So I'm going to use replace values. Okay. So values to find, open brackets, replace with nothing. I'll say okay. You see that it takes out the open brackets. Then for the close bracket, I'll do the same thing. Replace values, close brackets, replace with nothing. I won't put anything there, and I'll click OK. And you can see it gets rid of the open and close brackets. So for the email, I'll do the same thing. Replace values, the comma, values to find, comma, replace with nothing. I'll say OK. So that way I have just space in between the first name and the last name. Do you see that? So I'm going to trim. What the trim helps you to do is to remove excess spaces. I think I have excess spaces before the starting letter. So I'm going to come to my transform tab. While this column is still selected, I'll come to my transform tab, and I'll come to where I have this format here. And then I'm going to click on trim. So trim will remove excess spaces. I think it's moved. That's nice. And I'm done. Okay. So yes, you can replace with nothing. You can replace with nothing. All right. So this is one of the reasons why it's good to be in class. You don't know what you are really missing if you miss a Power BI class. All right. So email. I'll call this email, and I'll call this full name. And press enter. All right. So then I have the city, nice. States, nice. I have region, I have district, and I have country. Beautiful, isn't it? So unit cost, unit selling price. So I need sales. I need a column for sales. So that would be units times unit cost, or sorry, units times unit price. So I'm not going to do that in the Power Query. I want to use DAX for all of that. So I'm just going to rename this sheet 1. I'll call it sales table. Sales table. Okay, and I'll press enter. All right, and then with that, I'm going to load. I'm going to click on close and apply. All right, so I'm going to click on close and apply now. All right, so I don't know if I should teach you this method. I feel it will just make most of us lazy, actually. Let me proceed. So close and apply. I'll click on close and apply. right, so I can see the shield you're talking about. I just noticed that as well. All right. So what Zoom does is that Zoom does not show its own apps. Okay, so the shield that is covering it, this rectangle one that just moved to the bottom and moved back up again. You see that one that is moving, isn't it? Okay, because I'm seeing it here as well. I can see what I'm sharing. Okay, this is the meeting chat. It is from here I read your chat. Okay, so Zoom is not showing it as I am seeing it. That's why it looks blank. All right, so I'm going to minimize it and it disappears. Then for this one at the top, okay, for this one at the top, all right, it is the meeting controls. Okay, so where I can share my screen, where I can see the number of participants, where I can mute, unmute, where I can record. That's where it is. Okay, this blank area you're seeing at the top. Okay, but Zoom is not sharing that as well. All right, that's why. So let's proceed. Okay, so let me hide the meeting control. Let me just leave it like this. All right, so you couldn't find the trim. Should blocked it. Okay, let me go back there and show you the trim again. All right, so pay attention. Once you click the column that you want to trim, okay? So let's say this is the column you want to trim. Full name, you click on it, you come to transform, and you come to where you have this format here. Click it, and then you click on trim. Okay? And once you are done, click on close and apply. All right. So, come in, give me a minute. Yes. So now, so we have our sales table. Currently, I can't see the fields that are there. If you look at your data pane, all right, but if I expand by clicking arrow here, I can now see the fields that are in the sales table. Isn't it beautiful? So whenever you have your table created like this, you need to always create a calendar table. All right, you need to always create a calendar table. All right, so how do I go ahead to create my calendar table? I already showed you that in the last class using DAX, isn't it? So I'm going to create my calendar table quickly. So I'll go to table view, new table. And then I'm going to title it calendar table. Calendar table. Okay. And I'll use okay, let me do this. Let me go back to my sales table. Minutes. Let me create it first. Let me first check for the minimum and maximum dates I have in this table. So I have from 2011 to 2014. 2011 to 2014. So those are the dates I have on this table, 2011 to 2014. So I'm going to go to new table, home, new table. All right, and I'm going to start by saying calendar table equals, and I'll use my calendar function. Calendar, open brackets. So the start date is going to be 1st of January 2011, comma, and the end date is going to be 31st of December 2014. Close my bracket and press enter. So I've shown us this in the last class. Let me zoom in so that you can see the function. I've shown us this in the last class, so it's not something that is new to us. Okay. So after this, what next? How to go back to your Power Query? Simply look for the transform data on the ribbon. Okay. So I've gotten my calendar table, right? So I need to get the day name, month number, day of week, quarter, and then the year as well. So to do that quickly, I'm just going to brush through it because we're already aware of the functions. So new column, let's get the day name first. So once I click on new column, it's going to ask me for the formula. So I'll start with the name of the column I want to give, day name. That's the name I'm going to call the column. Equals, so how do I get the day name? I said you use the format function, isn't it? Format, and then you give your dates column, which is on the calendar table, comma, and then the format is DDDD. Close the bracket and press enter. Isn't it? So new column again. Let's get the month name this time around. New column. Month name. Formats. The dates column. And the format is MMMM. Enter. Alright. Then new column again. Let's get the month number this time around. Month number. So we're going to title it month number. And how did I say we can do that? Using the month function. And we just give the dates column, which is calendar table dates. Close my brackets and press enter. Isn't it? Then new column again. This time around, let me get the day of week. Day of week. So I'm going to start by saying day of week equals, and I'll use the function weekday. So I'll give my dates column on the calendar table. So close my brackets, press enter. Then let's go ahead and get the quarter. New column. For this quarter equals, I'll start with Q and then the quarter function is dates column. Close my brackets and press enter. So that will give me Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So new column. Finally, let's get the year. So the year is equal to, now use the year function on the dates column. Close my brackets and press enter. Alright. So with that, we're done with our calendar table. Okay. Are there spaces between the function? Yours is showing error. So there are no spaces between any function. Okay. For the day of week, what it means is that you didn't practice what we taught. You didn't practice what we taught in the last class. Okay. So this is for the day name. Alright. This is for the day name. So format the date column from the calendar table. Then for the month name as well, Then for the month number, then for the day of week, the quarter, and then the year. So for the quarter, someone asked why did I start with Q? So if I don't include this Q, I will not have Q there. I'll just have the number. Okay, so what this Q does is just to add Q to the number. So I can have it as Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Okay, so the essence of this calendar table is that you need it. It's very important for your time intelligence functions. Okay, so we've created a calendar table. The next step you are going to take is this. Pay attention. Now click on month number over here. Okay, on your dates, on your data pane, on your calendar table, click on month number, then come to column tools. Okay, sorry, click on month name rather. Click on month name, then come to column tools, and then click on sort by column, and click month number. Okay, then come over to day name as well. Click on day name, then click on sort by column, and then click on day of week. Then finally come to your home tab or your table tools rather. Table tools. On your table tools, click on mark as date table. Mark as date table. Okay, so mark as date table. Click on this and say date, and then click OK. All right, so with that, you are done with the entire process for creating your calendar table. All right, so the last step before you start building your visual is to make sure that your calendar table is connected to your sales table. And how do you do that? You come to your model view on the left hand side, model view, and you make sure that there's a relationship between your calendar and your sales table. So currently I have calendar table here, I have sales table. It doesn't matter how you have it, okay? The only thing is that I can see dates on this calendar table, and I can also see dates on my sales table. So I will click and drag dates from calendar table, and I will drop it exactly on dates on the date table. You can see, I make sure it's aligned before I drop it. So based on date to date, it creates a relationship for me. And I can see this line. So if yours is showing line, beautiful. If yours is showing like this, for some of you, your own might be showing like this, and you say, sir, it's not showing line. There's no problem. As long as you have this here, showing one here and then star here, you can drag this to show the line. Okay? So from this, you are good. How did I get to the model view? The model view can be found on the navigation pane. The navigation pane is on the left-hand side of the screen here. Okay, so reports view, table view, model view. Some questions you're not meant to be asking on the 5th Power BI class. All right, so with that, we can now look at the DAX functions on time intelligence. Okay, so what are the time intelligence functions we want to look at? We want to look at how we can calculate the sales for previous dates. So for instance, previous month, for instance, previous year. Okay, and then also look at, okay, same period last year.